understand that even when the problem are surmounting and they're piling up on each other, our words matter, and we must speak what is good even when things are not good.
I think a lot of teenagers, including young kids, may think that at a certain age, I need a relationship. I need to have a boyfriend. Everybody else has a boyfriend. I want a boyfriend. Why can't I have a boyfriend too? But I don't think that that's a necessity. That's not something you need. It's something that you may want in the moment. But if it was best for you, that's the real question.
Is the most important. Is definitely 1 Corinthians 6 verses 19 and 20. Which is, or do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit within you, whom you have God? You are not your own. You were bought with a price, to glorify God with your body.
Relationship, and I said when I just started, I said that as a church we're not spending enough time in our AY programs, in our youth fellowship programs, to talk about sex, toys, and intimacy.
But it is when you choose Jesus that you receive the fulfillment, the meaning, and the reward that only comes with following Him.
It is true that love is more than an emotional attachment. And it involves a series of action and behaviors.
I would just say continue to pursue God with an everlasting zeal.
I think this is where your sociology creates an opportunity for you to present your theology.
Doing more in the nature and pray or read the scripture. Listen to certain music, whatever that connects you with God.
Hello. And would you believe it? We are back again for another exciting episode of Zoom Hope Live. And today is our final teen event or teen program, as this is the last Saturday or Sabbath in the month of March. How was it for you, London? It has been 4 solid weeks. Or 3 solid weeks so far. How has it been for you?
Yeah, we've had some good conversation. I definitely hope that the conversations that we've had have been continued, and I hope that even as we dialogue today, that this conversation will not stay just in the comment section, but you will continue to have dialogue on what it's like to parent teenagers. And awesome. So I'm excited to get into it.
I am excited to get into it as well. And as London would always remind you, we want you to just state where you're watching from, wherever around the world you're watching from. Put that flag, put that name of the country, so you can be identified, because it is in our mission to be global in terms of our reach and our influence. I was talking to a friend of mine today who is actually a panelist, and he was saying why we don't call it StreamYard Hope Live. I said, well, Zoom. That means we're infusing. That's what we're projecting. Yes, that's why it is Zoom Hope Live. But I want you to remember our website, please. If you have not yet gone there and check out our website, go to www.zoomhopelive.org. So there are a lot of stuff that is happening there. You can check out the blog. You can check out past episode. You can also take the time to donate from that platform. So there are a lot of stuff there, and we're still building on what is on the website, but it's very interactive, and you will actually have fun being on the website. So please check us out at zoomhopelive.org.
Awesome. Yes. And something that Larry has told you before that I would like to remind you that there are multiple ways for you to get in contact with Larry and myself. If you would like for us to help with a ministry that you have going on in your community or at your church, or if you just want to follow up with us to maybe get the contact information of one of the panelists, or maybe you want to continue the dialogue on a topic that we've discussed already. And so, of course, you can always email us at zoomhopelive@gmail.com. And you can find more contact information on our website. Please, once again, if you just logged in and you're watching, drop into the comments where you are watching from. We see that there are multiple individuals from the Bahamas that are watching from the Bahamas. Where are you watching from right now? I'm in Texas. And I know Larry is currently in the Bahamas as well.
Yeah.
So comment, drop in there where you're watching from. If you're watching on YouTube and you have not already subscribed, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Subscribe. This is going to be helpful so that we can grow the ministry, so that we can expand the ministry, so we can bless more people, so we can even grow our team. If you cannot financially contribute through contribute through our website, then you hitting the subscribe button on YouTube will also be a blessing to the ministry. If you have anything that you would like to say while we are talking, while we are having this conversation, please drop the comment into the chat. We can see you chatting. We see Sharon Brown said hi, hello. Kevin Sterling is
Yeah.
2242. A lot of
That's
people from the
Bahamas.
Bahamas, yes, and so we can see those comments. So if you have any questions that you would like to ask our panelists or Larry and I as your co-host, then please do so. I'm trying to
Yeah.
think, is there anything else? Comments,
Yeah.
questions? We have
I
YouTube, we have Facebook. What am I
Instagram
missing,
and
Larry?
Twitter. Yeah. So
Yeah, and now we
we
have
really,
Instagram and Twitter.
yeah. So we really want you to continue to bless us. No, last week we had another powerful episode, and throughout the entire week I was getting feedback. Persons was telling me, man, I like the content. So that's those persons who would have got the live, or one or two might catch it up afterwards. But so we want you to be intentional in sharing this with other persons. Not only share this video, but share our YouTube and Facebook pages, so that persons can benefit. And of course, our website, so that persons can benefit from the rich content that we have. So far, we are going in our anniversary month. Next month will be 1 year since we have started Zoom Up Live. And we want persons to be able to benefit from all those seasons, all those episodes that we have out there. So please, and talking about that, there's someone that was with us from the beginning, and she's back with us again. Two persons who were with us from the beginning, and they are back with us as we are about to go in our anniversary month. So the first person is Ramona, and I am excited and elated just to have her back with us. Ramona, how is it?
Hi, it's fine. Hi
All right, what time
everyone.
is it? It's now about 1 o'clock in Kenya.
No, it's 11 p.m.
11 p.m. 11 p.m.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
Mm,
So
mm.
it's good to have you. It's
Thank
good to
you.
have
Good
you.
to be here again.
All right, definitely. And you're always here with us. And to know that it's 11 o'clock in Kenya, and for you to always being up, man, we don't take you for granted. And as I was saying to you,
Yeah.
we want to extend ourselves some more in Kenya. And you told me that you're going to give that some thought as to
Yeah,
how you
yeah.
think we could get that done. But tell us a little bit about yourself. Well, the Zoom Up family out there.
Okay. Hi everyone. I am Rumana Apio. I am Kenyan, Seventh Day Adventist. I am an editor, a teacher. Yes, and I'm a mother of one.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. And in case you don't know, she's also a co-author or something. She wrote a book. If you have
Yeah,
not
yeah.
gotten it as yet, please, you can go on Kindle, and we're going to get that information before, so we can put it on the screen. You can go on Kindle and you can support Ramona by getting her book. All right. So thank you so much. And we're looking forward to the discussion.
Yeah.
All right, London, who is coming up next?
All right. So coming up next, we have Manishka. Manishka, if you can please join us, I would love to hear more about you. If you can tell the people a little bit about you, where are you from? Why are you interested in this topic of parenting teenagers? And just tell us a little bit about what you've been doing.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Happy Sabbath. My name is Manushka Pianame, and I'm from the Bahamas. And believe it or not, I was a teen mom. So, and now my daughter's a teenager. So, it's a pretty exciting topic for me. And this is a topic that I really do like to relate my story to the youth. So, I'm pretty excited to be a part of the show. So, thank you for the invitation.
Awesome. And it's good to see you, Manishka. One of our youth, young adult who we spent many years together working youth ministry here in the Bahamas. So it's really excited to have you on this platform. Well, our next guest for tonight, for this evening, some places is actually tonight, yeah. Right, Ramona. All right, is none other than Pastor Asher Dane Duncan. Asher is here. He was he was our first guest on Zoom Hope Live. It is good to have you, Pastor D. Tell us a little bit about yourself as we get into our discussion. Okay, I see he's a little bit frozen. Go ahead.
Okay. Hi, Larry and London and the Zoom Hope Live crew. I'm Pastor Asher Dane Duncan. I currently pastor in Ontario, Canada, the Ontario Conference. Yeah, so this topic, it's one that I hold dear to my heart. I have an experience as a teenager growing up. That's one. And as a pastor, I'm relating to the youth. Also, okay. Also,
well, I see.
All right. Looks like
he's
my
having
program in marriage and family therapy.
All right. So he's freezing a little
Yeah.
bit, but
So it's just.
Okay, so we will sort that out. So he has his emphasis, his master's in family life. That's his focus area of study. So great, it's good to have you, Pastor Duncan, and we look forward for you to be back and have our internet and lighting issue sorted out. Okay, so who do we have next, London?
Who do we have next? Let me see. Let's see. We have Michelle. Michelle, if you can come on and tell us a little bit about yourself. Why are you interested in this topic of parenting teens, and what experiences you have, in ministry, and what you find yourself doing these days?
Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Michelle Colley, and I'm interested in this topic because I have a teen son who just turned 14 yesterday.
Oh,
and I love working with children and youth ministries.
Awesome.
Where are you from? Where?
The beautiful island of the Bahamas.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Glad to have you.
And you have not said this, but Michelle is actually into social working. So she's a social worker, and you are the chief what do you call that?
Chief welfare officer.
Yes, within social work, and I would suspect that you'd have had many encounters with empowering teenagers in varied situations. So we're looking forward to having a worthwhile and awesome discussion with all our guests today. But just before we go into the discussion, you have heard her before. Well, Zumo, we are projecting her again this evening, and that is none other than one of our own family, Evan. So Evan is going to bless us at this time with her song Ego. And this is something that every teenager, in fact, everyone can identify with. Let us hear Evan, and also remember to support her ministry on iTunes.
Amen.
Now and then I'm haunted by what I could be, 'cause the lies of my ego are the worst parts of me. It be flaunting, 'cause confidence is key, but if I'm not careful, it'll creep up on me. Hey girl, you got this, you got this. People tryna be you, yeah, you worried about your conscience. It's either me or God, girl, you can't have both. But frankly, I'm the one you choose to keep close. In case you're feeling low and you need assurance, I'm gon' big you up this baby, 'cause I'm amazing. This attitude's hell, but too sweet to let go. Sincerely, your unwanted alter ego. If there ever was a time I need you, God, it's now. Though I'm flourishing in what I do, I can't be proud, 'cause attention can be dangerous and mess with my eyes. So Father, keep me grounded in your word instead. Girl, you got it good, but God, he got it best. If it weren't for him, you wouldn't be this blessed. Better keep yourself intact, 'cause before you know, you'll be nothing but the amount of likes on your IG post. I need you, I need you, I need you. Oh God, I really need you. I need you, I need you, I need you.
Oh yes, great. So if you haven't gotten that song from from the last time we played it on this platform, I want you to go over to iTunes and support Evan. Well, London, please take us as we move forward now in today's exciting discussion.
Yes, I am. I appreciate that song that we just heard as we deal with. Sometimes it's popular. It's a popular thing to kind of be full of yourself, right? To have a big ego, to be stunting, what we call stunting on people, and things like that. And I appreciate the way that Evan is calling us to realize our need for God, right? Above all else, and not to make ourselves too haughty or too big. And so if we can move into the first question, and I would like for Michelle, if you can start us off by answering this question, and that is how important is the parent and teen bond, and in what in what intentional ways can the relationship be built? Talking about this parent and teen relationship, how important is it, and how can it be positively built?
Okay. London, this question is so timely,
All
especially
right.
for us who have teens.
Mm-hmm.
How important is parent and teen bonding? Well, a lot of people think that families become less important to children as they move into teenage years, which isn't so. Your child needs you, your family, and the support of it as much as she or he did now or even when they're younger. It is true that family relationships change during adolescence. When your child was young, your role was to nurture and guide them. Now you might be finding that your relationship with your child is becoming more equal. Most young people and their families have ups and downs during these years, but things usually improve by late adolescence as children become more mature, and family relationships tend to stay strong right through. For teenagers, parents and families are a source of care and emotional support. Families give teenagers practical, financial, and material help. And most teenagers still want to spend time with their families, sharing ideas and fun. Some of the ways that part two, some of the intentional ways that we can build better relationships with our teens. Family meals. A lot of time you see everybody just go in the kitchen after dinner is cooked. Everybody just food is taken up and everybody just vanishes. No one sits at the family table, so this is important. Eating meals together. It sounds simple, but this is so important because you could share what's going on in the lives of your teenager and they could hear what's going on in your life. So they learn to respect that time that, hey, after dinner, we're going to sit and we're going to eat. And I think with the lockdown, especially with this COVID, a lot of the families were able to bring back family time, to spend time with each other, know what's going on with each other. That the parents, we could have gone out and the children could not have gone out. So for them, that was a total lockdown. But for some of us who were essential, we were able to go out. And so that family time, that bonding, I think is very important. Also, family outings. You could just have a game night in the backyard. You could make pizza together. You do little family bonding that solidifies that relationship with you and your teenager. Also, if you have more than one, it's important to have one-on-one family time, one-on-one personal time with each teenager in your house. And that is very important. Also, celebrating your children or your teenager or teenager's accomplishment, and not even celebrating their accomplishment so much, Pastor Green, too. If they didn't meet that mark, encourage them. You probably didn't get that B or that A you wanted or you usually got. You got a C. Still encourage that. Celebrate your teenage accomplishment. That helps boost their self-esteem too. And even household responsibilities, household rules, come together, have family meetings. All of this helps bond with you and the teenage in your home. All of that is important.
Yeah, good stuff. I hope you all were taking notes, because she definitely just dropped a whole lot of gems on how important the relationship still is. Your teenager is not a little person anymore, going into adulthood, but they still need you, and there are ways that you can still bond with your teenager through having meals together, having family time, game nights. Listen, I still like game nights. There's no teenagers in this house, but we have game nights, okay? And it's just a nice way to bond. Next, I would love to hear from Manushka, if you can answer the same question on how important it is to the parent and teenager relationship, and what are some ways that this relationship can grow and be built.
Okay, so I really like this question because, like I said, I had my daughter when I was 19, right? And even though now she always teases me, say, "Mommy was a teenager," and I was like, "Well, I kind of thought it was an adult, but whatever, right?" So that's our little inside joke, right? So, just to answer this question, right? When she was 10, and like I felt like we was having like this argument, and I said, Marcy, please, I'm trying to understand the 10-year-old you. Can you please understand the 30-year-old me? So with that, with my children, we are very vocal. So I realized like building that one-on-one with them while they were still before the teenager age was so essential, because now that my daughter's 13, yay, I have a teenager now. Now that she's 13, the same thing from the past is the same thing now. Like some of the things that I did to establish our relationship, I explained to her, I say, this is who I am as a person. I say, I understand I'm your mother, but I just want to be your mother. I'm not ready to be your friend. So these are some of the ways that you can communicate with me. If you feel like you want to tell me something, just tell me, Mommy, I need a safe space with you. So with me and all of my children, we have a time where we have safe space where they know they can tell me something that they know they probably did. They may feel like it was something wrong or something. So what I just want to say is creating a safe space for them, preparing for the teenage years, before the teenage years, being like letting them understand where you are as a parent, like because and being always being able to apologize and treating them like they are humans, because I know sometimes we treat children like less than human, if you understand, like we don't think they deserve apologies or explanations and stuff like that. So for me, I explain a lot so they could understand where I'm coming from, and then I give them that opportunity to also express themselves. Oh, and some of the ways that we can build better relationships, I have to agree with Michelle. Like me and my family, we do a lot of game nights. We do some game nights. I'm an adventure person, so we like going on adventures and stuff like that. So I try to make their lives as I like. I probably am a like adult child anyway. So I try to include as much fun and as much activities so that I could get to know all of them, and then understanding their personalities and giving them that same space. For example, like my son, he's only 10, but I realized that he likes his own space. So I tell him once in a while, I touch base with him once in a while, and I say, hey, I think it's time for us to talk, you know? So one of the things I'm learning is also tailor your intentionalities per child, because some children, all the children are different. So sometimes, you know, as you make your choices, just ensure that it's almost like tailored for the child. So that's what I think.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. There was a conversation that we had last month as we were dealing with love. And I think that's what I hear you essentially expressing, Manushka, is this idea that people love differently, people feel loved differently. And so, you know, as a parent, your thing may be, I provide food, I provide a roof over your head, I provide these things, I love you, that's all I need to do. But some people, and that's, you know, often when we talk about love language, that can be acts of service or gifts. But some people's love language is physical touch and quality time. And so as you have teenagers that vary in personality and vary in need, sometimes your teenager needs some additional attention and love and expression or space, as what was just said. Pastor D, if you could please answer the same question, and then we would love to hear from Ramona following.
Okay, I won't be long. So I want us to look at it, this bonding, this relationship as an investment, right? Why is it? Because it will benefit in the long run, right? It's not a short term one snap thing. It's an ongoing thing. So as you grow into life, the teenager becomes an adult, that person will remember and value the relationship that was built prior to. A quick story I share with the viewers. I grew up not knowing my father, and when I was in my like late 20s. I happened to run into him somewhere, I believe, in Florida. And we were there talking and all of that. We spoke for about 2 to 3 hours. But at the end of the conversation, I had to be blunt and straightforward in telling him that I'm building a relationship now really to me, in me. It really doesn't make much sense because I would have gone through the different stages in my life already where wanting a father figure, right? I would have already taught myself how to drive, myself how to introduce myself to girls. I would have already taught myself so many stuff that I would want a father to teach me growing up. I would have had ice cream without him. I would have had graduations without him being present, and he wasn't there. So that connection, it's like that part of me is already severed. So I want to look at parents and teenagers to look at this not as something mechanical or something that you're just going through the motion with, but it's a long-term investment that will give to a better life for both the parents and the teenager.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I hear both Pastor D and Manushka say a similar thing, is that, building the relationship that you have with your children when they're small informs the type of relationship that you will have with them when they become teenagers and when they become adults. And when you establish presence and love and affection and a listening ear, then when they get into these difficult spaces as teenagers or even into their adult years, they'll feel comfortable talking with you and learning from you and confiding in you and even spending time with you. That was one of the questions that Colin Major asked, is dealing with the teenager who feels like they're not understood by their parents and don't, teenagers that will shut the parent out. And I'll give my little input here, and if there's one of you that want to respond to this question as well before we move on to our next question, it's this: is it my response would be that I think some of that is normal, right? I don't think that you're a bad parent or even you have a bad relationship with your teenager if they want to keep some things, if they don't want to necessarily share some things. I think there's something normal about that generally. But I would say if it's with everything, then it may be some cause for a little alarm. But sometimes when a child is growing into their teenage years, they're trying to find themselves, and they're wanting a little bit more privacy, and things like that. But if there's another parent on here, one of our panelists, if you would like to deal with this same question, and that is, that parents often feel shut out by their teens, and they would often say, there is no point in talking to you, you don't understand me, you don't even know me. How would parents change that sort of relationship?
Okay, London, I think we as parents, we need to be real with our children.
Mm-hmm.
And like you say, we have to set that precedence before they become teenagers, that, hey, I can speak openly to my parent about anything.
Yeah.
And that is important, like we said, having that one-on-one time, having those family meetings where you could be free to speak and get advice from each family member.
Yeah.
That makes a difference. And I think a lot of persons, when they were growing up, were not allowed to be expressive, like how we now as parents, we are allowing our children to be more expressive than we were to our parents, because some older adults felt like if you were so expressive to your parents that you were being disrespectful or rude. But it's the way that you train your children and allow your children to know, hey, this is the line, this is the parent, this is the child line, and hey, these lines, when you cross them, but you have to be respectful the
Right.
way you say things to your mom or that, because we know it's a transition for them. They're not children anymore, but we'll always see them as our children, and they're getting a little more responsibility, as we would say. So they're growing up. So they will have their issues, and hey, just like us adults, we still have issues that we need to work out and we need help with too. So I think we need to be real with our children, allow our children to be expressive, but in a very respectful way, and to find solutions that we can all work together to help them get through their issues.
Awesome. I think that's
Okay, well,
important. And there's no way we can
if I could just,
overemphasize.
okay.
But let me hear from Ramona. You've been missed that opportunity to respond.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ramona.
Yes, yeah, to respond to the first question. So please let us hear your take on that question. And just for emphasis, we could just put it back on the screen, so you could reply to that question.
Yes, I apologize for that, Ramona.
It's all right, like I think it's very important for parents to bond with their teenage, because if I could just use one of my favorite example, the Bible, that of Moses and his mother. Moses was brought up by his mother, even though in a palace, and it is because of how the mother kept reminding him that he's an Israelite, he's not an Egyptian. She kept reminding her that even though they are staying in the palace, that is not their home, and they are slaves. And I think that is why Moses was able to fight and kill the other Egyptian who was fighting the Israelite. So what I'm trying to say is the relationship they had helped Moses know who he was, have an identity of who he was, and that he wasn't just supposed to stay there and do nothing. And that is what bonding of teenagers and parents does. It brings out an holistic adult if it is done well, intentionally, and in the right way. For us, in the Christian way, because we know light. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and we're gonna segue into the next question, right? But London, I really believe that what our guests are saying, it is important. Right now, that's my area of focus in terms of transmitting faith to the next generation. And what we realize from studies is that teenagers, young adults, are really what we'll say they're not holding a stake in the traditional faith that has been outlined. And the reason for that is because many times parents lose in the opportunity that God has given them. It is Smith and Denton, and if we could get this on the screen, they make this powerful statement, and I see throughout many studies, the Burner groups study, Fuller studies, etc. They said the most important influence in the shaping of young people religious life is the religious life molded and taught to them by their parents. In other words, parents have primacy when it comes on to creating that bond and actually lifting the teenagers to where they ought to be. And I believe that's what I've gotten from the panelists so far. But I'd like to find out what's your take on this question, and we could hear from Pastor D, and then Ramona, and then the others could chime in.
It seems like question 3 flows into that. Maybe we can skip around a little bit. Yeah, question 3 kind of flows into what you were just saying.
Great. All right. So, how important is religious socialization and faith transmission in a parent-child relationship? we'll start with you, Asher.
This is paramount. Now, brother elder asked ties into this. So we find a lot of teenagers who are faith-based. They become very rebellious. They act out of norm, and we wonder, why is it that these kids, they were born in the church and all of that, and why are they behaving this way, etc. But what I'm discovering, and I did a research on it the other day, is that quite a high number of these young people, they are reacting to hypocrisy. For instance, they will see, like one shared with me, that they didn't understand how is it that their mother would speak so kindly to an elder at church, and then at home around the Sabbath table, right? That same person bad mouthing that same person, that same elder, right? So you find out that a lot of times within the Christian context, teenagers are reacting to the hypocrisy that see coming from their parents, right? When we speak of a home, it goes way deeper than more routine morning and evening worship, and ensuring that your children attend a Christian school and ensure that your children attend Sabbath school. At the parents to see if they're really practicing what they are teaching and preaching. So, practical Christian tenets should be always visible in the life of the parents. And teenagers also love when when parents are open, speak the truth. Don't let them feel as if, okay, you are on a pedestal and you are there and you know everything, right? So all of these things come into play. And as I said, a lot of times when you see the teenager, I was surprised when I started the graph to see the teenagers who are reacting because of the hypocrisy that they see in the home from their parents.
Yeah, so I mean, I hear you saying essentially, it seems like in part you're dealing with kind of two questions. The thing of when teenagers will sometimes shut their parents out, and the thing of religion. And I hear you saying that when the teenager sees that you're being fake in your religious life, or putting on a show for the public, and they see something completely different at home, you're not being authentic, you're not being true, then that negatively impacts their view of religion, that negatively impacts their view of God. And so it's vital on both ways. I hear, Ramona spoke earlier about Moses and his mother and the relationship that they had, and how that very much so, I think it would be good to assume that relationship positively informed Moses on who he was to be able to even care about when God spoke to him at the burning bush. But the opposite can also be true, that if there's hypocrisy, nobody's perfect, no one's saying be perfect, but talking about being fake, then that pushes the teenager away, and I think rightfully so in a sense. Larry?
Yeah, I want to share something, but afterwards I just want to hear Ramona and the others, seeing that they're burning. So let me just hear those points, and then I share something that I'm already begin to process as I've just heard Ashadin. Go ahead.
I have a 6-year-old, and we've been doing devotions with him. Sometimes I get busy and he sleeps before we can be able to do the devotion. But one thing got me happy. Some other time I wasn't around and my sister told me, do you know what? Hey, today your son prayed very well. And I was really, really humbled. I really just prayed and told God, please keep my son that way. So what I'm trying to say with this example is, if we can get time to spend with these children, even our teenagers, in practicing our Christian faith with them, it helps them grow and it helps them know that it is right from home, because out of the issues of the heart, words flow, and our heart here is family, and family is you and your children. So if you can be able to build a rapport, a very good foundation in terms of Christianity and practicing what is right. And as London says, that we stop being fake and being real in terms of our Christian and our religious practices, then we get it right in training them in the right grounds.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and Ramona, would you agree, just really quickly, would you agree with the statement of like, what about the fact that as a parent, right? Because I hear you saying if you can emphasize that again, like you want to do devotions with your child, sometimes you don't, right? Sometimes you don't always meet that goal that you have for yourself,
Sure.
right? Or even as your child becomes older, when you make mistakes, right? Because you're going to make mistakes as a parent, right? I'm sure, as most parents have, right? I'm not a parent yet. How do you deal with this thing of hypocrisy, but also being a flawed parent, being a flawed individual? What would you say to parents or even teenagers out there that are kind of don't really know the difference between what it means to be human and what it means to be a hypocrite? How can a parent distinguish that line?
Okay. Just to tell you that where I come from, we don't apologize to children.
Okay.
So it's one thing that I try doing, because I know I need to teach him to say sorry. If we can't say sorry to him, how will he be able to say sorry to others?
That's
And if
right.
I can't teach him forgiveness right now, how will he be able to learn about forgiveness? So it's something that we are currently trying to learn. And even so, the difference between hypocrisy and just understanding that you are human and you are able to make mistakes. Like sometimes when it passes like 3 days and we haven't done devotions because either he slept early or I got home late or something of the sort, and I'm like, what? I'm losing it. My child is gonna get lost. I feel that way, but I tell God, please help me. And in
Yeah.
between the day, we just talk about God, or we'll have a devotion in a different way. And
Yeah. Yeah.
when it comes to hypocrisy, I think we do that a lot, where we say one thing and do something else, and sometimes it's a bit hard to tell the difference, because we are also we found ourselves in such situations, and it needs a lot of grace, a lot of learning, and a lot of you seeing yourself as, this is wrong, what I'm doing is not right. And if we can't be able to do that, then we're getting our children lost, because they copy a lot what we do. Because there's a time I'll just come and open my computer, and then he'll just do the same thing, and I had to stop because I was getting my son lost. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And I think Stafford actually makes that point, Ramona, after, and Michelle will come right afterwards. He made the point, if we can get it, where it says, sometimes do we really realize? Yeah, sometimes we can easily forget that sometimes the very teenagers we see are a younger version of ourselves. Genetics are real, but not only even genetics, just the things that we do. And you talk about coming in late, or that your son might go to sleep. that happens sometime with my children, and they ask, Daddy, we didn't do devotion last night. And you know what I'm able to say to them, and I believe this is something for parents out there to actually start to do when we miss those important moments, is say, let them know that even though they're sleeping, guess what? You fell asleep, but I came over you and I pray for you. And so those kind of thing, it's very important, and we should not overemphasize this. Without parent, and I placed it in the group, I was typing it so we could just send this across the screen. Without parental engagement with children, religious socialization and faith transmission, it is virtually impossible. So that's what I'm getting from you, Ramona. And put it this way, as parents, we must have a stake. We must have a stake, and this is what Pastor D said earlier. That stake, we must have an investment to say that this is a lifetime thing, a stake in our children, because that stake, it will be seen in the way our teenagers relate to faith transmission to themselves, to their teens, and also to, as they grow, their own children. So let's hear what you have to say, Michelle.
The first thing I'd like to say, our children know us better than anybody else in church. They see the real us every day at home. Our parishioners in church only see what we allow them to see, because a lot of times they just see us once a week. So in terms of hypocrisy, our children be the first to see it. Oh, she in church lifting up holy hands. Oh, look at him with this long prayer. And look at him home. He don't speak to mommy. He don't speak to me. Our children see the hypocrisy. So that is so important for us. Be real with our children. We have to let our children know, hey, the point we are in our religious life now, we were not always there. We were not always to this point. Yes, we had some struggles, hey, and we have to allow our children to see that there is a loving God who cares. So if you miss worship today, Ramona, with your husband, with your 6-year-old son, God is not going to beat us up about that. God is not like that. That's why it's important to come to him every day. Each day we have to ask God for new mercies, new grace, new help, new forgiveness, because yesterday's strength cannot take us to tomorrow. So we have to present God in a loving light to our children and allow our children to see that, hey, we are not perfect religiously. We were not always to this point today where we should have been in our religious life. And it's okay to make this big mistake. But the important thing is not to stay down. Go to God, ask God for help, and ask someone else for help. How do I go from point A to point A? If our parents don't know, do not be so ashamed or think you know it all that you can't ask someone else for help. Hey, how do I guide my child to have a better relationship with God? Because I personally need to have one too. And when your children see things like this, I think all of that, they will want to have a better relationship with God, because you, as a parent, you want to, and they see that you're struggling, and that they see that, hey, you're not afraid to help, and hey, my parent is not being afraid to say, hey, I am not all that where I should be in my Christian journey, but I am not afraid to ask for help. And our children emulate us. So when they see us trying to be better, they will just be better.
Yeah, that's good.
Let's hear you, Manushka. Thank you so much, Michelle, for that. And just before you speak, I think that point of being authentic in that, letting our teens understand that, man, that's a mistake. I overdo it. I should have prioritized here, but I missed there. And they see that we can fail, but in our failures, they see that we approach it from a perspective as an opportunity to do better. And guess what? This idea of mutuality in that relationship is important. I was going to jump in earlier when Manushka talks about friend and parenting. So maybe seeing that you're gonna speak now, you could maybe speak a little bit more on that, because a parent should also be the friend of your child. That's important, because sometimes what happens is we create attention. I am the adult in the room and you're the child in the room. That is given. It is shown in age. It is shown in so many ways. You're the one providing. So it's okay to be the friend of the child. So in that kind of relationship, you have what I believe Michelle just alluded to is mutuality, where the children understand, guess what? My parent can learn from me as much as I can learn from my parent. And that kind of bonding taking place, the child is not going to see the parent as a God that doesn't make mistake.
People don't want to hear that, Larry. You might be making some people mad right now.
Yeah, but it's the truth. It's the truth. And I am right now. This is a topic that I'm excited about, but I'm just trying to talk less so that I can hear the panel. Because when we look at the level of dropout, and you talk about the Berner studies, you talk about the Pew Research, you talk about Fuller, and all these researches that are out there, it shows that when all right, Amalda Wright, she makes this point. She said, as she studied the American teenagers, she said that when she looked at the teenagers and realized that, yeah, they go to church in the week, but on Sabbath or Sunday, but in the week, they're mixed up with the drugs, violence, gang, etc., etc. And they ask why. It comes back to the same point that was made earlier. They saw dual spirituality in the home, dual spirituality in the church, and as a result, they themselves have this what she called fragmented spirituality, in that they cannot make it reality because it's not touching, it's not real. And parents, we have that responsibility. We have that responsibility to connect with our children, our teenagers on that level. And as Pastor Duncan said, even from an earlier age, see that it's a lifelong process. So let's hear Manushka.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Larry. Well, I just want to just a background for me, right? So I wasn't raised an Adventist. I came in through the faith, and I can never forget my mother, my parents. They kept us out of church for like 2 years before they allowed us to go out. And I remember she said, Manushka, do not forget your promise to God, right? And even though my parents were never Christians, they always reminded me whenever they felt as though I was doing something that I wasn't supposed to do, they always reminded me, like, Manushka, don't forget your responsibility to God. So I said that to say, like, for my children, my daughter got baptized at our first Y10 crusade.
Yeah.
Larry, she got baptized to that. And she was like, I think she was like 10 at the time too. And I remember telling her I was afraid because I was like, oh gosh, this came faster than I thought. And my son, he got baptized in 2018. And he was probably only like 80 or something like that. And he said he heard the Holy Spirit tell him come. And I was also afraid, I was wondering, I was just a little bit hesitant, right? So my whole thing, I always told them I always tell my children, like, please don't forget the relationship or commitment that you made to God. So the same thing that my mother did, that I guess she kind of sort of did to me, I let them realize the seriousness of the commitment that they made with the God with God. So, and one of the things too that I think in terms of religious socialization, that is so important. Like I gave my children, and Michelle spoke about this being real. I told the children my story. I told them, where I'm at. I said to them, children, if you'll see mommy struggling, please pray for me. Many times we together collectively, we fasted and we prayed for my husband, for everything we saw that was going on, for one another, right? So one of the things that I realized helps them to understand how Christianity works. It isn't like this, but once you become a Christian, everything is perfect, or everything, like you don't fail, right? Because whenever my daughter said, "Mommy, but I did this," I said, "Well, baby, seems like that's about right. I say your timing is right." Because I said, like, it happens to all of us, you know. So I try to let them see my relationship with God, or I let them see God in the way I see my relationship with God, that He's my friend, that He's an understanding God, He's a compassionate God, and that when like in our family we see that each other is struggling, instead of bashing each other or something like that, we should pray for each other and encourage one another. So like for their birthdays, what we would do is we would say, what is something that you felt as though your sister or your brother should improve, or what are some of the things that you think that they did well, you know? So we use that time too as a time of reflection, as an encouragement, because I always tell my children that we need to take care of our inside your house first before we go out. And the same way with us at home, I just feel like I always told my children, because Larry just said, Manushka, you said you're a parent, not a friend. It's just that my personality is, I couldn't handle being my children's friend, right? I just wanted to be their mother, like in my own understanding of what mothering and parenting was, right? But it was so funny, in me trying my best to be the type of mother that I felt with them, we became friends anyway. And they understand that there is still a line. Because I told them, I said, children, I feel like by the time you'll become like in your teens, our relationship will be complete. So for me, it sounds funny, like how I said it. It's just that for me, it was a difficult thing for me to do, but it worked out in the end that me and my children were pretty good. Whenever they have a time where they want to talk, or they even ask me, "Mommy, we think that you were being a little bit hypocritical about such and such and such." I was like, "Me? Not me." Right? But the reality was, I was like, wait, explain to me, what did you see, or what did I do wrong? Like I didn't even know, you know. And I remember one time I literally told them, "Children, if y'all see me do," I say, "Okay, y'all said I do something. Was that right? So if I tell y'all not to do it, is that me being hypocritical?" I told them, I said, I just felt like if I did something wrong, I shouldn't justify it. I need to condemn myself on that which is wrong. So I'm learning, and I realize like being a parent is always a learning thing too. So I tell them, if they ever see me doing something that they know I spoke about, like let me know, because I know sometimes we do fail, we do things, sometimes consciously, intentionally. So one of the things is just back to the question, just ensuring again, like Michelle said, like letting them know the realness. I let them know that what it really takes for me to have a real relationship with God. Like I talk to God as my friend, and I tell them, children, the same way we talk is the same way you could talk to God.
Yes. I appreciate that, and I would like to hear London maybe engage question 2, starting with you and Ramona after this. But I'd like to hear, as a pastor, Pastor Duncan, how tell, because this matter of faith transmission and religious socialization, it involves the church as well. When we talk about parenting, you're talking about even rightful adults in other sphere, especially the faith community. How can the church then help in equipping families to raise children in the Lord? Just the same question from the standpoint of the church.
Yeah, thanks for that question, Larry. And it's a very provocative. It sounds simple on the process, but on the surface, but it's a very provocative one. No, the church has to be deliberate in understanding the the different groups that we're ministering to, right? Sometimes we really drop the ball in terms of understanding the different groups that are within the family. So we're talking about teenagers today. And why is this discussion about teenagers? It's because at the different stages, there are psychological, mental development that are really, when we think about it, it's very technical. You have a person at puberty going into teenage years. During that period, there are a lot of changes in the mind. Then you have teenage years into adolescence. Then you have still teenage years. Now, this is the most crucial part now, the era that is called the bump period. You are transitioning 18, 16 to 19, transitioning now from teenage years to adulthood. That is called the bump period. First and foremost, must be didactic, clinical in the approach when it comes down to family ministries. So there should be within the family ministry department of the church a well-oiled machine through the children and the children and the AY ministry, a well-oiled machine that understands the developmental process that these individuals, these teenagers are going through, and minister at their level. Sometimes we feel as going to camp, having camp and having AY programs and having the programs, all of that is enough. Through the AY and the AY department, the mentorship teams, mentorship groups, and the role of these mentorship groups as to nurture and to care for the teenagers as they blossom and mature in the Lord. So that's just one area through mentorship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah,
I've done extensive study. One key element to this is mentorship through the AY and the family ministries department.
Yeah, you're breaking up, but I think we got you, and we're gonna transition to the next question. But just to re-emphasize here, what Pastor D is saying, we cannot overemphasize that. We can't just run away from it. Is the importance for the different ministry in the church to work in tandem in this critical period of the life of the young people. And one of those ways that they can work, the church can work, is through mentorship relationship. And remember what the mentorship relationship is where the mentor and the mentee work. So the mentor works and the mentee watch. Then there's a point where the mentor and the mentee works together. So you see, the teen and the adult is involved. So what you have is intergenerationality that is happening, bonding that is happening, and it is also helping out the church. I posit this, that the church has a primary role in equipping families to carry on that faith or pass on that faith to the next generation. The church has that role. And thank you for that point, Pastor D. London.
Yeah, great point. And so now we're going to transition into our next question, and it says this: undoubtedly, many start parenting as teenagers. In fact, there are parents now who are teenagers themselves. And I will deposit this, that I was born to two teenage persons, right? Teenage parents. They were in high school. I know Manushka said she was 19. It's kind of a teenager but adult kind of thing. But no, my parents were teenagers when I was conceived and born. And so there may be people watching right now that may be the case, or you may be watching and you know someone who is a teenage mom or a teenage father. And so my question to the panelists is, what advice would you give to teen parents who are just teens themselves?
I guess we could start with Manushka and Ramona. So we get that, and then we go to Michelle.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Okay, so my advice would be, okay, first of all, because I remember like a few years ago, like this lady at my church, she came and she was like, Manushka, I always wanted to apologize to you because I wonder what we did wrong, what pushed you, on the edge. She's apologizing to me, and I was like, yo, no, right? So one of the things I realized for me when I was, I guess during that time for me is that, I know we kind of just sort of talked about this as I transitioned into teen parenting, was that I never was ever tempted to, I never had a temptation, right? And that was the first time I had to deal with that temptation, and I didn't know that it wasn't wrong to be tempted, but it was just wrong to give into temptation. So I always want to tell any youth that may be struggling right now with that temptation, to know that it's okay to be tempted, but you don't have to give in to that temptation. Like, I didn't even know I had a choice, because I remember that the voice in my head said, if you done thought it, you done did it. So I hated that. And I wish I had somebody I could have talked to about it, and I didn't know. I did not know. And it wasn't until after the fact, everybody was like, oh, I was like, oh, people discuss these things? So
after the fact.
I just wanted, pardon?
After the fact. Because
after the fact, I was like, because everybody now, they see that I'm expecting and they're trying to figure out what went wrong and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, people talk about these things. So one of the things, like, I even tell my children now, like, if you're struggling with anything, you could talk to me, because I realized I wish I had talked to somebody. I think I would have gotten more strength. And that goes on to answering this question. What advice would I give? I would totally, because me as a young mother, like, I was talking to my mommy all the time. I was talking to everybody in church, because I was the only person, like, my parents, no, I didn't have family in church. So it was only me and basically my husband. And like, I had to really, and we have a lot of older persons, a lot of older women. So a lot of them really came around me to like nurture me as a wife, to feed into me as a mother. A lot of people gave me books and stuff like that. So one of the things I would say is, don't be afraid to ask the questions if you don't know. And I know Larry just said that. And don't be afraid to also ask and surround yourself with people. Like, I had to humble myself. I had to do a lot of things, because I already know, like, I was wrong, and I just really just wanted to get back into my whole Christian life, to be honest. That's all I wanted to do, because I really wanted to live a Christian life. So one of the things I just want to do is don't give up on yourself, because I realized at a time, because of how some people spoke to me, I felt like I had to prove that I could do this and I could do that. And then, like, sometimes I think that it made me to be more stricter on my children, because I'm like, oh yeah, because they ain't gonna say this but us, or so sometimes I think, like, you do not let nobody do that to you. Don't let somebody make you feel less than you really are, and don't put that stress on yourself. Like, parenting for adults, young adults, teens, it's literally a day by day, a step by step journey, and we make our mistakes, but it's so important for you to be able to trust a supportive circle, because having that circle really, really helps you through to the end, and in ensuring that you have a well-rounded environment for your children. So I just want to give a shout out to Breath of Life down there in Nassau. I just want to give a shout out to them because they have really been an awesome support to my family, to my children, and they help to really nurture our children and even nurture me as a mom. And I feel like that same nurturing that happened to me, I would love to pour into somebody else by letting them know that yes, you did what you did. Yes, it's happening. The baby will come, but you're gonna be okay. By God's grace, you're gonna be okay because we are here to support you and to see you through.
Yes, thank you for that. Thank you for that. And so, Ramona, if you can please answer the same question of, there are teen mothers out there. I know you have your own story, and what advice would you give to not even just teen mothers, teen fathers, teen parents?
Being a teen mom is really, really a difficult thing to do because your life tragically just stops. Yeah, you had plans and you are living a life that you hadn't prepared for. It's just like right now, yesterday we have been having a week of prayer for the Global Youth Day. Then Sabbath we were preparing homecoming, and then yesterday our president locked the country and suspended worship. So we had to start over again, and that's exactly what happens when you become a teen mom. Everything stops and you have to start again to go back to factory settings. And as Mamushka says, you really need a support group for you to just be able to handle being a teenage mom. It's really hard. It's not something I'd advise anyone to think about. But if you're in it already, just get yourself a support group. Then you can't pity yourself forever. You need to get out of your pity party. It's over. Just try and live life again. And the grace of God is sufficient, but you need to do that to yourself. You need to get out. You need to stop pitying yourself, and you need to get yourself with the right friends.
Yeah.
And these right friends now are no longer the people you used to work with. And I would suggest older women that will be able to advise you in the right way. Yeah. It's really hard. I wouldn't advise if there's a teenager here and thinking about parenting, please stop. It's not something easy.
I hear you. Yeah, I hear you saying that being a teen mom, being a teen parent, in general is not an easy task. But for those out there who are teen parents, you have your time where you say, "Man, I wish this didn't happen." But as you said, the baby is here and is coming, is on its way. And the best thing you can do at this point is to surround yourself with people that are going to support you, people who are going to encourage you, women that are going to give you advice and give you the support that you need so that you could raise your new family. And then I definitely want to give all of our panelists opportunity to respond. And so Pastor D, Michelle, if you want to respond to the same question on what type of advice would you give to a teenage parent?
Hi, I'm Satya and I listen to the panelists, but we tend to focus on the teenage mother, but we don't focus on the teenage father. And I think when, because it's not just a teenage girl's fault. She had to have a partner. So we need to focus on that teenage father. The elders or the men in the church also need to become mentors to the teenage male, and present them with an alternative. Hey, you fell down, you make a mistake. Hey, you have a new responsibility now. You're just getting to know your body being a teenager. And we need to now have a mentorship club, not only to focus on our teenage females, but also on our teenage males who find themselves as parents.
Yeah, no, that's good. You have my support here all the way, and I received the rebuke because I did say women as well, because I every opportunity I get, I say this, that it is not the female's responsibility to be the gatekeeper of having sex the right way, that we need to support and train and equip our young boys that are growing into young men to be responsible with their sexuality as well. I definitely also appreciate what Manushka was saying about us needing to have more dialogue and conversations, that so often we look at sexuality as something nasty, something gross, and that if you even think about something sexual, then you have already sinned. And so I mean, I understand that lot, that thinking. You know, I've talked to young girls, freshmen in college, who felt like that. Well, I might as well just do it because the Bible says if you think about it, then you've already done it. So I might as well just I've already sinned. I might as well have some enjoyment, right? I mean, that's, you know, and young boys too. The same thing. I've already thought about it, so I might as well. I think those 2 points are extremely important in receiving support. Pastor D, if you have something to contribute.
London, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I also wanted to say that, hey, it's not the end of the world for the teenager, but
Right.
there is hope.
That's right.
We, as older women and men in the church, also need to encourage them that, hey, you have this child, but hey, you have to provide for this child.
Yeah.
So encourage that teenager to go back to school. Many times the girls can't go back to school and the boys go on. Sometimes they go on to even have a college education, and that young lady is there to struggle. But we also need to encourage her that, hey, you need to be a better parent now. You need to present this child with something better. Yes, I became a teenage mom, but hey, I went back to school. I was able to complete my even if it's just a high school degree. I was able to complete my high school degree. They're offering so much certificate courses now, so many courses online where it can enhance you as a person. So ask for help, encourage a person to go to school. We need you to engage in a mentorship program. An important thing, you need to keep yourself and your baby healthy as well in order to do all of these things. Okay?
Yeah.
And the church needs to change their approach when we see things of this nature happen. Sometimes we look at the young girl and we think, oh, she's so fresh coming to church like that. But the young guy is coming too, and we don't say these things about her. So we need to change our mindset. It's not only the teenage girl fault, it's both of their fault. And we need to encourage both of them that, hey, yes, you made a mistake. We still love you. We don't encourage the mistake, but we're here for you not to make that mistake again, to make something better out of your life so that your child now can have a better way of life.
Yeah. I want to make a point, right? But let me hear Pastor Duncan first, because that's a powerful point that you have just made now, Michelle. It's deep. Pastor Duncan.
Yeah, thanks. So reality is reality, right? I think what Sister Alice said, it's so profound. We place a lot of emphasis on the mother and not the father, and that is so true. But the mother carries quite a heavy load, and a teenage mother even intensified, right? It's
we want to hear what you're saying.
So
yeah, we're still having some serious problem with Pastor Duncan's audio.
It sounds
Yeah.
like he was just confirming that we need to do a better job, both in our society and in our church,
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
to also hold the young men responsible while they're not the ones walking around with a pregnant belly. They
Mhm.
still participated, and that we teach our young people that having sexual desires is not evil, is not nasty, and that everyone gets tempted, and just teaching people how to deal with the natural desires that will be had, especially in your teenage years. Larry?
Yeah. Pastor Duncan, are you able to go and try at it
Yeah.
again? Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that itself is a heavy burden, and a teenage mother is even a way heavier burden. So how both parties are involved, the mother needs that extra, the teenage extra attention because of how human beings view sin.
Wow. Yeah.
We
We're
just have the
definitely.
person who seem to have gotten caught.
Yeah.
Can I say something, Larry?
We're definitely not getting. Go ahead, Manishka.
Okay, because what I wanted to say, like in terms of the dad, right? So when my husband came into the church too, I realized my duty because we were so young, you know what I mean? So like one of the things, like I get what he's saying, but one of the things in terms of also, I guess, providing a group of support for the male. Because what I did, right, I asked all the men in church. I was like, could you please, talk to my husband? So then the persons who are our age, I was like, hey, you're a good person. I say, hey, this is my husband number. I think y'all would be cool as friends. So what I intentionally did behind my husband back was I tried to go and create a herd effect, right? Because I needed a priest for my home, and I think plus I know for a fact I wanted a good example for my children. So I just feel like I get what he's saying, because I don't never blame the church for the standard of the church. I just blame the individuals who come on to pregnant women, whether it's a pregnant teen or unwed mother, the wrong way. Because I had people who literally, even though I looked young, and by the time I was married, maybe on our second child or whatever, but they didn't know that. Like some people came on to me, and I was like, yo, you don't even know I'm a member of your church. And because you're making an assumption, you talking to me a certain way, I could see you brushing me off and all of that. And I was like, yo, what's your problem? And I'm a little confrontational with stuff like that. But I realized I don't ever blame the church, because God has blessed me with a beautiful church. But I think sometimes when people say, this is just my opinion of it, when people say church, they really mean sometimes an individual, or maybe sometimes a group of individuals. But our church is a beautiful church. We have a very supportive church. We have a church that do find ways to bring people back into the fold, and in a loving way to show God's love. So I just want to say to those individuals that have a problem, please be careful of your words, because I remember one lady, when I was pregnant with my daughter, she came and she was like, oh, you and your mistake or whatever, right? She crushed me, I was walking out of church. She crushed me. She said, I think she thought she was saying something nice. So then the woman, a next lady, she turned around and she said, Manushka, don't you ever let nobody call that child of yours a mistake. Because you're not going to be the first, and you're definitely not going to be the last. You stay encouraged, okay? And just know that God loves you. So I always like to tell anybody, like, please be careful of your words, because sometimes if God don't tell you say something, Don't approach that person.
And
Seriously,
that's
don't
why,
approach that person.
Pastor Green,
go
I
ahead.
could just interject.
Sure.
Manishka, I could so identify with what you said because I was a single mom. And if it wasn't for God bless the dead, Pastor Roach, I was out the door because I heard the comments and everything. So I was really toned right off from church. I'm like, these people are so sanctified. They don't make mistakes.
Yeah.
And, because I made a mistake, they make you feel as though you don't fit in there. But they forget that the skeletons within their closet, Manishka, if that door was to open, they would not even be in church. And what you're saying is so true. We have to be so careful the way we treat people who have made mistakes that
Yeah.
can either break us or that can make us. Because I said, if it wasn't for Pastor Roach, Pastor Clark, Pastor Melvin Lewis, I would have been gone.
Yes.
And we have to and these same persons, Pastor Green, don't realize that, hey, God forgave them. So what make them think that God can't forgive us? At the foot of the cross, there is no levels.
Yes.
There is no levels, Manishka. And so because me and you might have had a child, what they deem, because before we got married, or we should have had a child after we got married, what did they do? What did they do? It's a way you show people love, and it's a way you say things to people. And that is so important. And I think that's what turns a lot of teenagers off from the church. And I think that's why we see so much people, Pastor Green, so much young people don't want to come to church, don't want to be bothered with church activities. And they would only relate to certain people because it's how we relate to them.
Correct.
Be real. Hey, I wasn't always at this level in my personal relationship with God, but for the grace of God, He pulled me out of the miry clay, and this is who I am today. And words can really hurt, or they can break you. And I think we need to do a little bit better. I see in the church we're doing a little bit better with that, but we still have a long way to go when we judge people.
Yeah. And I appreciate something that Manushka said, and I know, Ramona, you have something that you want to add, and that is that oftentimes it's a couple of people that make negative comments, and we deem that as the church. But if the people who do not think likewise don't speak up the way that the person spoke up in Manushka's case, then it's so easy to say it was everyone, because to be silent as you see people being mistreated is to accept that sort of behavior. And so I praise God for the people in both of your lives that spoke up and said something, because that's not always the case. Sometimes people stay silent when others are being ugly, and then now that's the representation of the church. But praise God that those things have been changed. Ramona?
When I got pregnant, I actually just changed churches because I didn't want to face judgment, because I knew it was there. These people would gossip about me. They will tell my mom stories, and then they will expect me to go back to the same church. How? I didn't go back there. I've never gone back there, and I'm peaceful where I am because it is just one gentleman who came and told me, you know what? I want you to serve. I want you to be active in the youth. I want someone to look at you and know that God can give a second chance. And those words, like Mamushka says, they built me. And up until now, whenever I am serving in church, I remember I am there because I have a purpose. There is someone that I want them to look at me and see Jesus giving someone a second chance.
Yeah. No, if you recall earlier, right? As Michelle, as you started to speak on this topic, I said I have a point, but I wanted to wait and hear, because both just given the opportunity, you actually dealt with my discomfort that I was feeling, because sometimes what we do in the church is blame. We blame the teenage mother. We blame the young man. We blame the parent who's they're coming from that experience. I remember that my sister is on right now. I just see Laverne Brown. When she got her first son, I think she was 19. And she was told by a person in the church, what are you doing coming to church with that belly? And I'm talking about my sister. We grew up in the church all our years. We give everything in our life to the church, but when I heard she get that response from someone whom we would have even learned some stuff from, it was disheartening. It means, therefore, that perhaps what we need to consider. Oh, she was 21. Well, until now she looked like teenager. Thanks. Right. All right. So she was 21 and she was told that, right? No. The point is, yeah, she correct me right on screen. Anyhow, that's my twin sister. All right. So this is what I'm saying. Many times we find the problems and the issue and we say, blame this one, blame that one, blame that one. What we are moving away from is the systemic problem, an issue that is there. And blaming individuals will not get it. What we have to do is to change the way in which we engage a conversation, change the way in which we create the atmosphere within the faith community, within the home, of dealing with what happens all the time. Because my parent, started to have children from their teenager. But what was happening and what is still happening is that there's some things that need to be dealt with on a real level within the church, in the faith community, that we have to confront. We need to know how to have faith conversation. We need, as last week we talked about it, we need to know how to engage sexuality issues and conversation within the context of the church, in the context of the home. Also, we need to understand that as parents, we don't know everything. And that's why it's important that in that same context of a faith community, the church find ways where the parents can come together and talk together, bounce things off each other to find out what are the best way that I can bring my child into communication. We're not going to touch that question, but that's one of it. We must communicate the closeness when it comes on to teenagers and children. It's not going to just happen out of the, just by luck, just like that. We have to really do something about it. So we're at the end, but before we go
ahead. If I can say something really quick, I know there's been a bunch of things that have my phone is going off. There are a lot of triggers have gone off. And one of them is my mother-in-law. So my husband's birth caused her to be excommunicated. No, not disfellowshipped. The paperwork that she received from the Adventist church said excommunicated, okay, because of her pregnancy. But the father was able to still come and be at the church, but the young lady got excommunicated. But I just want to say, in addition to that God is good, because something that happened is my husband's a minister, he's a chaplain, and he participated in an evangelistic series with Pastor Myron Edmonds, for those who know Pastor Myron Edmonds, and I was there as well in Cleveland, Ohio, in Euclid, Ohio, and my mother-in-law was rebaptized into the same church that they had kicked her out in, and the church has surrounded her and loved on her. And so I just wanted to just wanted to once again emphasize the need for the people of God to surround each other when mistakes are made, when bad decisions are made. Remember the decisions that you've made that have not always been perfect, because remembering that and being able to offer love to those that have been made public, right?
Yeah.
Things that are made public has the power to restore in a way that you may not even realize.
And as my mother-in-law is saying right here now, Yvonne Adderley, love covers sin. And all of us here on this platform, based upon what I am getting, we were either in the context where our parents weren't married or they're teenagers, or we ourselves might have had children without being married. In that context, so it brings me down to this point, and this is it. Regardless of the generational differences, teenager or grandparent, or different barriers in terms of languages, our cultures, our countries, it boils down to this. Everybody wants to be loved and to feel belong.
Yeah.
And that brings up this next question. And it's just because our producer asked us to deal with it, even though we're atrociously over time.
Out of time.
Underscore the value of communication in a parent-teen relationship. How much the topic of sexuality need to be dealt with. So we'll talk. We start with the social worker, Michelle. So please,
Okay, that's great.
after
Okay.
you, we'll hear from Ramon, and the others can chime in.
All right. Parent-adolescent sexual communication can help reduce sexual risk behaviors among adolescents. This is very important. We have to talk to our teens, or even before that. Age appropriate wise, we have to talk to our children before they reach the teenage about the dangers of sex and sexuality. You know, as the older adults in church, before time you couldn't even say the word sex in church. That was a taboo almost. But today, I guess, like we said, because we are such an expressive generation, and these are some things that the issues that face teenagers, and sex is in my field, from there in primary school, we have primary school children being molested. We have primary school children becoming parents themselves. So this, the value of communication with parenting, this is so important. So important. We can't even we can't express this enough, that sexuality, sex, and in its right context must be a topic for our teens, our preteens. It must be.
Amen. Amen. Is there anybody else that would like to? I know we're out of time, but if you have something that you can say really quickly, please do.
Okay.
Manushka?
Well, yeah. I would like to say, okay, so what I did was, for my daughter a long time, I got her like a sexuality book, but like it came from a Christian bookstore though, right? And because she started to ask me about like she started so young asking me about how does children, how children are made, and like at that point you're trying to figure out how do you explain these things. So I just got her like an introductory book. So one of the ways that we can underscore the conversation is, if you don't have the words, before someone else tells your children about it, then you find a way to communicate it. Because if you don't have the words, then like I use the book, because true story, very quickly. So at school, I guess around the school or whatever, the little girl they was talking about condoms or whatever, right? And my daughter saw one of those, and like she wrote me a long letter about, oh mom, this is so wrong, blah blah blah. Like 2-page letter about it, because the definition that she got from, and this was primary school, this was like probably grade 4 or something like that, and the definition that her friends gave her was something that was it was wrong, right? And so she had a wrong idea of it. So I had to quickly do damage control and let her know, no, babes, no, that's not how it works. And how I had to express to her that the love that me and her daddy share will be expressed in a way that I probably can't fully explain to her now. But there's always ways to let them understand each step by step, because this could sound a little cheesy, but very quickly, like, we celebrate each milestones. Like the minute my daughter, she started maturing, getting into a puberty, we celebrated that. And even for my son, the little hairs, the little, everything, because I use those times to highlight what's really going on in their bodies, and to let them know from when they were young. I told them, I said, children, these are certain areas that nobody should touch you. So you should, even if I touch you a way that makes you uncomfortable, let somebody know, or even let me know. So I feel like having those types of communication helps when you come into the arena of, okay, babes, you're going to start liking boys, and sometimes you may want to do this, or sometimes you may feel like the person may ask you to do that. But I remember talking to Tina, I told them, what is your standard? You tell me. You know what I would say as a Christian, but you tell me what would be a standard. If you're with a guy, do you want to not kiss them until whatever point? I said, what would be a standard? So I realized, like, here their thoughts and feedbacks are, help to make that the sexual talk a more conducive one.
That's good. That's good. Ask them
And
questions.
to London, sorry for you going.
No, go ahead.
We are creatures, social beings, right? And we should be having these conversations to see where your children are. Sometimes we do role play at home. If you were pressured into this, what would you do? How would you act? What would you say? And like you say, from children are small, you have this conversation, like Manishka said, where good touch, bad touch. As they go older, you increase that conversation of what they should have. And I think that would help a lot too. Increase the conversation as they get older. And like you said, that family meeting, that family time, these are the things where you bring out things that concerns them. Oh, I noticed this is happening with my body. Why is this happening? So we need to have these conversations with our children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, okay. I completely agree. There's a bunch of people who completely agree. I see something on here talking about celebrities. The reality is that young people are talking about it. They know about it, or in some type of way they've been exposed already. Okay. If they're able to look at a screen, they've been exposed. If they go to school, they interact with other kids, they've been exposed. So it is better for you as a parent to educate and teach them what's right and how things really work, so that they will not get misinformation. Ramona, are you still with us? I know you're frozen right now, but I think there was something that you wanted to contribute. We can hear you fine. Was there something you wanted to say? But we can't see you. But go ahead if you have something to say quickly.
I just want to say that, as Mamushka says, if these kids don't hear it from us, they're going to hear it from their other quarters, and they want to be the right quarters. So really, we need to just find a way of putting these things into perspective and talk about sexuality as early as possible.
Yes, thank you for that. Larry?
Sorry, Larry. Sorry. I saw somebody was talking about the boys, because I have 3 boys. So one of the things I realized, me being a mama as a boy, because my son, he liked to do like the cards, like the little love letter cards, right? So I started to tell them, when I saw that was happening, I said, babes, I know you may feel like you like a person, but I think you are actually figuring out the people you like around you, because I think you're going to realize like you like certain things about this male friend of yours, or certain things about a female friend of yours. And I told them that's okay. So I think like sometimes dealing with boys, like, you have to ensure like that, because I know sometimes it's so cute to say, oh, it's so cute if you have a crush, but then you have a daughter and you're condemning the daughter. You know what I mean? So I just think like finding the balance between the two, and ensuring and letting the both know that it's okay with the feelings that they get, but at each stage those feelings mean, and actually they mean something, not than what they really think it is. You know what I mean? Because even as adults, like, I feel drawn to certain females, I feel drawn to certain males, not that I attracted to a female in that sense. But I just really like the type of person that they are, and I use that example so at least they could know. Like, I don't want y'all to think that with the things that sometimes y'all may see on TV, oh, because you like a person, you have to kiss them or something. I say that might just be someone that you are drawn to in terms of friendship, and just someone that you see that you could relate to. So I think that's something in terms of how we relate with boys and girls, like that. That's something that's important.
Yeah, that's a profound point, because we're teaching persons and of course ourselves to appreciate our feelings towards others, and not because you realize that, man, there's a quality in this person that I like, whether male or female. It means therefore that is something that it means that I need to have, that kind of intimate relationship with that person. No, it's developing and understanding. As a male growing up, you're going to have a certain level of bond with other male, and you're going to have a certain level of bonding with other female. But to allow the fact that you're living in an information fluid age, where the information you receive are not always wholesome for you, lead you to make wrong decision. That's when communication, you're saying it's important to have those kind of sexual, or there's another word I wanted to find, but sexual conversation with young people and young people with different generation, so that they can understand themselves better and understand their feelings better. So I appreciate that. But we're way out of time, and next week we will not do this again, right? Right. So
but it was good. It was good.
It's a good way to end a month that we have been experiencing, this kind of outpour on our teenage Generation Z like none before. So we want you as panelists to take a second or two just to outpour something within the context of our teenagers.
Yes, please give a message of hope and guidance to parents and teenagers at this time. Ramona, if you can please go first, and then Michelle, and then ending with Manushka.
I just want to say that, like Michelle said, at the cross there are no levels, and Jesus loves us, all of us. And another thing is, bringing up teenagers is a bit challenging, but the grace of God is sufficient. So let's just go to Him and ask Him for guidance, and He will give it to us. It is hard, but it is our responsibility. We can't hand it over to anyone. So let's just press on. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramona. Michelle?
My take home: be honest, have a personal relationship with God, and lead your teens to have their own relationship with God. Ask for help from positive people who have your best and your teenagers' best interests at heart. Spend quality time together. Get to know your teens' friends and engage in positive activities with them. And always, whatever you do, let it glorify God.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you for that, Michelle. Manushka?
Michelle said a lot of things I wanted to say. So I just wanted to say, like, as a parent and teenagers, like, you can't do it without God. Like, I couldn't see me doing all of this without God, having an awesome support team, having an awesome church, because we cannot forget that the church is like a hospital. There will be persons' failings. There will be some hypocrisies that you will see, but you don't give up. Your light is needed. And if you're not in a church now, please go to a church. God is totally, and He is waiting for you.
Amen. Amen. Thank you for that. Larry, I think that this has been a really good conversation. We went extra long today, but I believe that the people have been blessed. I've been blessed. I've gotten, I've been taking mental notes. I'll be able to go back
Yeah.
and watch this later on,
Awesome.
so that hopefully when my children one day, which I do not have yet, but my children one day become teenagers, I can take some of these nuggets about spending time with them, getting to know their friends, talking to them about their body parts, talking to them about sexual things upon their different growth development, making sure that leading them to make decisions for Christ, and then reminding them of their own decisions that they've made and their own commitments that they've made to God, being honest about failures and shortcomings, and being willing to apologize to your children, all of these things, so that when they become teenagers, they'll be healthy teenagers, and that will lead them into becoming healthy adults and healthy people in this world to glorify God's name. I'm really, really grateful for everything that we've talked about today.
And honestly, I am just all up on our guests, just appreciating them, and the level of experience that they brought today from Michelle as a single mother, and also from the standpoint of a social worker dealing with these kind of situation. Pastor Duncan as a pastor of and a husband with children, dealing with teenagers, and of course just the deep experience from Ramona and Manushka, who have lived this experience firsthand as teenage parent themselves, and even now parent of teenagers, in the case of Manushka and Michelle. So it's one thing to just hypothesize and send things out there, but here it is. They're real people who are sharing their real experiences.
That's right.
That they themselves are going through. And there's so many points, and we want you to go over the program. So remember, subscribe and share with your group, whether it's your church. Maybe your church can just listen some of these programs for your AY program. So subscribe and let your church bask in it. Just have a AY Zoom Up Live AY program one of the weekend. So you use some of these and actually infuse it within your context. So remember, you can find it. Just go over to zoomuplive.org. All of our social media platforms are there, and you'll be able to connect and find out there. If you want to engage or book myself or London or our engineer Kevon Spence, you can also do that from the website, or if you wish to connect with any of our guests, you can do that. I leave this with you, as London left something with you, is that when it comes on to parental engagement with children, it's critical, it's foundational. There will not be religious socialization or faith transmission without parental engagement. What is parental engagement? It means those children that are your blood, but it also means those children whom God has placed in your spirit, so that you can mentor them, so that you can place within them the realization of their identity that is in Christ. So throughout this month, that was our dream, that was our goal, to let you as teenagers know without a shadow of doubt that you belong. You belong in this world, you belong in your church, you belong in your family, you belong in the kingdom of God. And we pray that you will just continue to grow and be blessed. Your generation is special. You have so much potential. Just live them out in Jesus. So on behalf of myself, I am your host, Larry Green, and our host,
D. London Anderson. Happy Sabbath, everyone.
Ever forget our engineer, Kevon Spence. Tata, see you next week. This has been another exciting episode of Zoom Hope Live.
I've tried it all. My fight is more like a crow. I've been broken and I've been hurting. Yeah, I keep searching, but self